Look, I voted for Trump, and I'll be the first to tell you that I'm not down with this big, beautiful bill. And let me tell you why. People say all the time, oh, you Trump supporters are in a cult. No, we're not, because we are not in blind obedience to one individual. We are more than willing and happy to criticize our own, and that is how it should be in the political arena. We see so much in this big, beautiful bill that actually is the opposite of much of what we actually voted for. We see a continued increase in spending, unnecessary spending. Not only that, but we also see the increase in encroachment of AI. We see funding of pet projects that we do not agree with. And we are going to raise our voices against it, as any well-educated electorate should do. You know, Elon Musk is right in calling it a disgusting abomination. And I think that the Trump administration needs to realize just how damaging it will be if we wind up passing this bill, continue this trend of wasteful spending, and then wonder why individuals don't show up in the midterms to vote for this continued irresponsibility. The reason people voted for Trump is because we want to see fiscal responsibility. We want to see an end to waste, fraud, and abuse. And we don't want Republicans to say one thing and do another. That's what people on the left are very accustomed to, is their politicians saying one thing and doing another. They're just used to it at this point. They have Stockholm syndrome. But we demand better, as we should. That's why I myself, and many others like me, do not agree with this big, beautiful bill and want to see it actually redrafted to only include the things that matter to average, everyday Americans. Those are my thoughts, and I'm curious what yours might be.
Ask yourself this question. Did you know that Trump's tax cuts are going to expire at the end of the year if we don't pass the one big, beautiful bill? If these don't get passed, we're going to have the biggest tax increase in the history of the Republic. We're going to see a crash like 1929. This thing is going to go into a recession and a depression when trillions of dollars have to be paid by the U.S. taxpayer if these things expire. This is how stupid these Republicans are in the Senate trying to screw this thing up. Now, we had Corey Lewandowski on today. Folks, we've been talking about how important this is to pass this one big, beautiful bill, and Lewandowski nailed it, cogently and succinctly explaining on my show why this is critical. Let's roll it.
Look, I had the opportunity, the privilege actually, to sit in the White House with the president last week to talk about the one big, beautiful bill. And what is very clear is if the bill doesn't pass, we're going to get a massive tax increase. Okay, we're talking 1929 Great Depression levels. Because what is happening, John, is this bill is very binary. If you pass it, you have a massive tax deduction, a massive tax decrease, maybe the largest tax decrease in American history. But if you don't pass it, what you will see is a massive tax increase. So is every bill perfect? Of course it's not. John, this bill funds such critically important things like border security, making sure our men and women in the military have the resources they need, putting our priorities back in place so that we're putting America first. So is every component of this bill ideal? Of course not. The House passed the bill. They've done a great job. The Senate has some reservations. The president has already said he is open to some modifications to the bill. But to simply kill this bill in its entirety will mean a massive tax increase for every American, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status. And it's just unacceptable.
I mean, in that minute and a half, Lewandowski nailed it, right? Succinct and to the point. You got to pass this one big, beautiful bill. You can sit there, you can argue around the edges. It's all nonsense. Look, Rand Paul, Mike Lee, what have these people ever done? Tommy Massey, they've done nothing. I've been telling you this. You can't find anything they've done because they don't accomplish anything. If it was 1776, Rand Paul would be voting against giving money to the Continental Army and saying, well, you know what? The king really is not that bad. King George is not that bad. You know, we can work with him. Let's not give them any money. You know, we can't go into debt. We can't run a deficit. You know, we can't do this. We can't do that. So, you know, it's all good. Now, I'm done with these people. We need to pass this one big, beautiful bill. I don't know how many times we got to go over this over and over. And here's what the senators are trying to do. Well, we're smarter than the House. We're going to fix it. We're going to change this, change that, change it. Well, here's what it means, okay? Now, let me just give you the math. They start changing it. It's got to go back to the House, get voted on again. Then they have to have a debate. Then it's going to take weeks to get out of there because everybody's going to be fighting about the changes the Senate made, even if they get it out. Then weeks go by. Then, August comes. Got to go on recess now. Got to take another month's vacation. Well, it's not vacation. Got to go talk to our constituents where they're going to get beat in the midterms because they can't pass this bill and get the tax cuts. Here's what else it says. our businesses don't know what to do. So they're going to wait. So no investment in the economy. They don't buy anything. This goes on and on. Now we're going to get to September. No bill passed because they're still fighting over it. No bill signed by President Trump in July. No tax cuts, nothing. Now you get to September. Oh, now we're running out of money. Now we got to do an omnibus bill. This is the most insane, stupid nonsense I have ever heard in my life. What the Republicans in the Senate need to do is shut up, get off of Fox News, pass this bill. Look, you want to send emails out about how you're opposed to it, but you held your nose? I don't really give a rat's tail. Get this thing passed so we can save the country.
All right, you shady motherfucker, listen up and listen good. I voted for you because of your no tax on overtime bill, amongst other things. But here's the deal. I just read your great big beautiful bill, and it's bullshit. The overtime, no tax on overtime, this is the way it works in that bill. You ready for this shit? You get a $10,000 tax deduction at the end of the year for overtime, if you make less than $100,000. Well, let me tell you something, boys and girls. There are very few skilled tradesmen in this country, and I'm talking about construction workers, especially union construction workers, oil field workers, truck drivers. None of them will be eligible for that $10,000 deduction because it stops at $100,000. That's right, $100,000. Now that sounds like a lot of money if you're from Oklahoma. But let me tell you what, if you live in Washington, Idaho, Montana, California, Oregon, Colorado, even Texas, all the coastal states, New York through Florida, $100,000 is just an average wage for a skilled tradesman. Your welders, your pipe fitters, your good framing carpenters. That's just that. It doesn't get you there. It doesn't get you there, which means we'll still be taxed on all of our overtime. 100%. This is bullshit. Now, if you're at the 7-Eleven and you're working overtime, you might have a chance. But this is not going to affect those of us in construction and manufacturing. It's just not. A good line welder, most of the country, you're talking $46, $55 an hour. Okay? Even more in a coastal state. As much as $60 or $70 an hour. And you work 10, 12 hours a day. This big, beautiful bill is a big pile of bullshit for skilled tradesmen. I said what I said. Bring the fucking heat. And another thing, truck drivers work 70 hours a week. Every week. And they don't get paid by the hour. There is no overtime. Bullshit. This is a bullshit bill. And it doesn't even come close to addressing the people who put you in office, which are the blue-collar workers of America. So, Donnie, I'm going to fucking go the other way with this one. With this one, you dropped the ball. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed, DJT. This is some fucking bullshit. If you don't fix this, you're going to lose this, bro. And tell your cronies in Congress, if they don't fix this, I guarantee you, 4 years from now, the majority of those seats will not be red. You pulled a lot of goddamn union brothers over to your side. And I appreciate your ideals most of the time. But this time, not so fucking much. Oh, by the way, not driving, riding. He's driving. The bald-faced fuck. He doesn't even like your overtime bill. Fuck you! There it is. You share this shit. Let everybody know what the real fucking deal is. I don't like being hoodwinked.
I need someone to help me make this big, beautiful bill make sense because I don't get it. I don't want arguments, but I do want to hear from people who support this bill. Genuinely, I need help understanding how you can support a bill that cuts healthcare for the poorest and sickest people in this country. I genuinely want help understanding how people can still support the theory of trickle-down economics when we have 40 years of precedent to show that it does not work. Help me understand how you can support a bill that will add $4 trillion to our deficit while hurting American citizens. This bill isn't about schmushmortion. It's not about illegal immigration. And again, the economic theory has 40 years of precedent to show that it doesn't work. So how is this going to fix our economy? Everything that I'm hearing from people who support this big, beautiful bill is the trickle-down economic theory of it. That again, we have 40 years of precedent to show it doesn't work. So there's got to be something else. There has to be some other really good thing about this bill where people would actually support removing health care from the poorest and sickest people in this country. And if it's so beautiful, why is it being debated in the shadows of the night? There is no actual emergency. Their deadline is completely made up, and they are trying to rush this through because if they go fast, maybe people won't notice the things in the bill. I've got to be missing something. So please help me understand. What is it that I'm missing?
Hi, everyone. So there's a lot of concern this so-called big, beautiful bill that was approved by the House and is now before the Senate will kick millions of families and children off Medicaid and food stamps and raise our debt by an estimated $3.7 trillion over the next 10 years. But here's something else very important you need to know. Buried in Section 70302 of this big, beautiful bill is a provision that will make it extremely difficult for federal judges to hold any government employee in contempt of court. This means if a government employee like President Donald Trump were to ignore a federal ruling, the judiciary could not force that person to comply by holding them in contempt. According to the Campaign Legal Center, quote, the new rule would be so broad that it could allow any government actor to escape being held accountable for violating court rulings. When asked about this provision at a recent town hall, Congressman Mike Flood of Nebraska had this to say.
This provision was unknown to me when I voted for the bill.
Federal courts have ruled 170 times against the Trump administration. If this bill is passed, which includes this provision, it will put all of those decisions at risk.
The big, beautiful bill. I am going to have to stray away from my usual content, which is usually about moving and living abroad. Because I don't normally do politics, but I just feel that I need to address this bill, and it's going to be in several videos because there are several parts of this bill that you guys don't know anything about because they just keep concentrating on the part that talks about Medicare and Medicaid cuts. As a lawyer, I have looked at this bill. My mind almost fucking exploded, but they have put so many little sneaky bits of things from not being able to qualify for student loans, how you're going to be able to pay your student loans, for you to not be able to use your home equity for Medicaid or Medicare programs, down to the fact that the Medicare, Medicaid programs and assistance will be cut, down the age that you will have to work now. You will have to be someone who will have to work for a certain number of hours for you to receive Medicare, Medicaid. To the most important one, and because it's in the legal field and it's the most dangerous one that's been snuck in here, worst of all, which is trying to control the judiciary so he can get away with more than what he already is getting away with. That shit blows my mind. And everyone needs to know what this bill is saying. All the little intricate things that will affect you on a regular, everyday basis, including people who get government assistance, and that will not be raised along with inflation, which means you ain't gonna be able to go out there and hardly get shit with your food stamps because they are not raising that bitch for you all to be able to afford to eat. Things of that nature. But the first thing I'm going to talk about in my first video is I'm going to break down the whole thing about him trying to avoid being made to comply with the orders of the federal courts. The fact that he's already doing shit he's not supposed to do and he is not complying with the court orders, if this bill passes, it's a goddamn wrap. So the next few videos will be outside of the realm of things that I do because this shit agitates me even though I don't live there anymore, and thank you God I don't. But I am still concerned and I still feel the need to make sure that you who are still there know exactly what is going on in simple layman's terms. So make sure you follow and stay tuned.
The big beautiful bill passed the House and is now off to the Senate. Here's what it would mean for your student loans. Number one, it would eliminate subsidized loans entirely for new borrowers after July 1st, 2026. Subsidized loans are offered to undergrads with demonstrated financial need, where interest will not accrue if the student is enrolled in at least half time during a grace period or during deferment periods. If this passes, interest will accrue from day one during your entire time at college. Number two, it increases the Pell Grant requirements from 12 to 15 credits per semester. Pell Grants are offered to low-income students who often also have to work while enrolled full-time in school. So increasing their course load in order to receive a Pell Grant is going to put them in a really tough position. It's almost like they don't want low-income Americans to be educated. Number three, it creates caps for federal borrowing. $50K for undergrad, $100K for grad, and then $150K for professional programs. Caps on federal borrowing doesn't reduce the amount of loans that are needed. It just pushes people into more private loans that have much higher interest rates and no protections. Number four, every payment plan, including SAVE, will be eliminated except for two: the standard repayment plan and the repayment assistance plan. And loan forgiveness under the repayment assistance plan is increased from 20 to 25 years to 30 years. And number five, it gets rid of the current rules that allow borrowers to temporarily pause payments due to unemployment or economic hardship. These changes disproportionately impact low-income Americans and increase the financial risk of going to college. Call your senators and urge them to oppose the big beautiful bill. And for those in the House that passed this, keep an eye out if they're up for re-election because these people need to be held accountable.
I'm shocked you guys haven't connected the dots yet. Like, how have you guys... Okay, let's talk about it. There's two bills, the Take It Down Act and the Big Beautiful Bill. They go hand in hand, and together they quietly shift power away from us and hand it to the people at the top. Okay, now first, the Take It Down Act. It gives the government and tech companies the power to delete your content within 48 hours. I made 2 videos about this. You guys can go watch if you have any questions. Just because someone claims it's intimate content, no judge, no proof, no due process. In the word intimate, it includes lascivious exhibition. I hope I'm saying that right. A term so vague it's been used to take down everything from swimsuit photos to protest videos. Now let's take a look at the Big Beautiful Bill. Tucked inside of this big beautiful bill, it says for the next 10 years, states aren't allowed to make their own laws about artificial intelligence. So if an AI system denies you a loan, marks you as a low priority patient, or screens you out of a job unfairly, your state cannot step in to protect you. You guys, this is insane. Only the federal government and tech companies get to decide how AI is used. Not you, not your community, and not your governor. Just big tech and the federal government. So here's what these two laws really do. The Take It Down Act takes away your voice, okay? The Big Beautiful Bill takes away your protections. Okay, and both hand more power to the federal government and big tech while taking it away from you. They are gaining more and more control while our power is being quietly stolen. And the worst part is they have the audacity to cover it all up by claiming they're protecting victims. But no, they are not protecting victims. What they're really protecting is their control. You guys, Trump has literally stated about the Take It Down Act that he's going to use it for himself. If this act was really for, protecting non-consensual sexual posts, what sexual posts does Trump have out there that he wants taken down? Maybe the memes with him and Elon Musk, you guys? The artificial AI memes? Oh, wait, but the Big Beautiful Bill has this thing where they're not letting the states protect people when it comes to AI. So people can post these AI memes, let's say. The federal government and big tech companies can take down those memes, and your state has nothing they can do about it because they can't protect you. How has nobody put 2 and 2 together? Ah!
This is an emergency. A new independent, nonpartisan report just came out that shows Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill is even worse than we thought. It is now estimated to rip away health care from 16 million Americans. The bill will also add $2.4 trillion to our national debt to fund giant tax handouts for billionaires. Elon Musk called the bill a disgusting abomination yesterday, and you know what? He's spot on. What today's independent analysis really does is expose the Republican lies, because here's the truth. The bill will rip healthcare away from millions of mamas and babies. Also that Jeff Bezos can buy a third yacht. Also that Mark Zuckerberg can buy another Hawaiian island. It is a gut punch to regular people, just so that billionaires can get even richer. That's just not right, and I will keep doing everything in my power to stop it.
There is a hidden provision in the GOP big, beautiful bill that will basically give Trump unlimited power to do whatever he wants without any repercussions. So if you're seeing this and care about our democracy and the direction our country is going, please share this video, spread the word. This should be the number one thing everyone is talking about, and it's not nearly being covered at all or enough. So please share this. There is a provision that calls for the Supreme Court to not have power to hold people in contempt, to hold anyone in contempt. It removes the Supreme Court's contempt power. And what this means is if Trump ignores a judicial order or a Supreme Court order, which he's already done, they cannot move to hold him or his officials in contempt, meaning nothing will happen. It means he has no reason to follow any judicial orders. This is very, very scary. This removes the major checks and balances of our Constitution, of our government. If this check and balance is removed, he can do anything. It basically makes Trump keen. So do you want Trump to be keen, or do you want to function under a normal democracy where the president is held accountable to the people of the United States? Let me know what you think. Share, spread the word, comment, like, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
In the middle of a housing crisis, Republicans are sneaking lines into their big, beautiful bill that could actually raise your rent. So let me explain here. Real estate software companies like RealPage use AI to get around price fixing laws and to help landlords collude to hike up the cost of rent all across this country. State and local governments saw this happening and were trying to put a stop to their scheme, but Republicans just threw the software companies a lifeline. There's a line in Trump's big, beautiful bill that would bar states from directly regulating AI, which gives companies like RealPage the green light to continue their AI schemes that raise your rent. This is a massive blow for working families who are just trying to make ends meet. But here's the thing. This provision has nothing to do with our budget. It's saying that states cannot make their own laws, which the Senate can't do. So I'm going to use every tool in my toolbox to strip this provision out of the bill, but I need everyone else to join me in this fight too. So please, call your senator, tell them to vote against this big, beautiful bill, because God knows your rent is high enough already.
Let us just be honest and talk about the big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill is actually the big, beautiful butt fuck to America. The biggest, beautiful butt fuck to America. Brought to you by a bloviating, bamboozling baboon that's in the White House. So if you think that you are not going to be properly butt fucked by this bill, just like how all the people in Congress did not read the bill, it is the big, beautiful butt fuck of the United States of America. That's the name of the bill.
Trump's big, beautiful bill. Finally read it, let's talk about it. First, it extended the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which avoided a 22% price hike, equivalent to $1,700 on the average American family. Next, it made the double standard deduction permanent, made the child tax credit permanent, and increased it to $2,500. I think it should be higher, but I love that. Doubled estate tax exemption, which is approximately $15 million, is also permanent, helping family-owned farms as well as businesses. Then we get to the specific campaign promises that people are like, where are they? Okay, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, as well as tax deductions for buying an American-made vehicle. There's also a new deduction for seniors receiving Social Security, which could be up to $450 each per year. Additionally, and this is a big one, they increased the small business deduction from 20 to 23%. This is going to be a huge economic boom for entrepreneurs, small business owners. Now for businesses, they can fully deduct the cost of equipment to build factories in the US. This is projected to increase economic growth by $284 billion. Research and development done in the US can be fully deducted in year one versus a 5-year amortization period. And opportunity zones are expanded, bringing $100 billion to distressed communities, mostly rural, over the next decade. You can also give your kids $1,000 tax-free before they're 18 to go into the stock market that can be withdrawn tax-free for education, starting a business, or buying your first home. Additionally, the health savings account limit is doubled to $17,000 that you can use tax-free for medical expenses. 1099-K forms do not need to be filed under $20,000 now versus $600 to reduce paperwork. And now scholarships are considered write-offs under charitable giving. The impact of this is 5.2% to GDP over 4 years, 3.5% long-term. Council of Economic Advisors, and I love this part, expects the average American family to have $13,000 more in take-home pay, as well as $11,600 in increased wages for the average worker. CBO says that it's going to add $3.8 trillion of debt due to decreased revenue. But as we saw last time, revenue tax receipts went up. There are some pay for cuts to Medicare, mainly work requirements starting in 2026, as well as cuts to SNAP. $500 billion of Biden-era green energy tax cuts are taken away. There's also increased taxes on universities up to 21%, basically a corporation. And then, of course, there are the hundreds of billions of dollars from tariffs. Depends on how much you think are going to stay on, but safely, hundreds of billions of dollars. So wait and see, right? Biden left us with a $1.8 trillion deficit. If we get growth kicked off and rolling over the next 3-4 years, and the debt, at least the deficit, we can cut it down close to $1 trillion, that would be outstanding. I'm pleasantly surprised that Trump even added new good ideas, but kept all of his campaign promises. There was also increased nuance here, more than I expected. The no tax on tips is only for people making under $150,000. Most waiters, right? And now going out is going to be cheaper because more people are going to be wanting to be serving food. That brings labor costs down, but they still take home more because the majority of what they make is tips. This is really exciting. I think people really drastically underestimate when you can write off R&D as well as building a factory in year one, how much money that's going to bring in investment into this country. If we get above 3% real GDP growth while shrinking the deficit even a little bit, that would be like exceptional, like actually exceptional. Super happy about this. Let me know what you think.
I'm going to be honest with you. The problem with the big beautiful bill isn't that it's going to increase the deficit by like $4 trillion. The problem with the bill is that its intention is to hurt everybody that isn't a fucking multimillionaire. If we lived in an alternate dimension where our president was FDR on steroids and our entire government was like ultra blue and they like offered like a huge spending bill, but everything it did helped people. Free healthcare, free education, trains everywhere, decommodifying housing, I would have been all for it. Like if the deficit went up at the benefit of helping every American, I don't think anybody would have a problem. Well, they would have a problem because deficit hawks would be like, well, the deficit's going up. But the entire Republican Party is going to like quadruple our deficit while making all of us suffer. It's like, man, like, why are we trapped in this fucking hell?
Let's do something I like to call MAGA math. Doge promised to cut $2 trillion from our budget, but they missed that goal by $1.9 trillion, so whoops. And as of today, the Congressional Budget Office said that Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill was going to increase the deficit by $2.4 trillion, leading to a staggering $4.3 trillion in broken promises and deficit increases. So congratulations, MAGA. The guy you elected to fix the economy and his companion internet troll did exactly what we said they were going to do, which is jack shit.
Hidden in the big, beautiful bill moving through Congress right now is something that you should be aware of. There is a 10-year ban blocking all states from regulating AI technology. That would be its use and its development. Let's put this into context. The government just paid $30 million for Immigration OS, a system that tracks people in real time by connecting massive amounts of data. Government records, consumer data from data brokers, this would be your shopping and web browsing, social media activity and connections, phone location, app usage, public Wi-Fi connectors, financial transactions and purchases, facial recognitions from public and private cameras. Right now it's targeting immigrants to find them in real time, but if this bill passes, nothing would stop the same technology from being used to track anyone, including U.S. citizens. For 10 years, states couldn't pass any laws to protect your privacy, prevent discrimination by AIs, stop harmful deepfakes, or limit predictive policing. This isn't political. It's about basic privacy rights. Please call your representatives today. No matter if you voted for them or not, just be respectful, but make it clear that you are concerned about the 10-year AI regulation ban in the budget bill. If this passes, it sets the foundation for mass surveillance, predictive policing, and targeting of any U.S. citizen. Your voice matters, but time is running out. Please make the call and share this information. Thanks.
So the big, beautiful bill is anything but. First of all, if the no tax on tips and overtime even makes it through the final bill, it expires in 2027. It is nothing more than a gimmick to get them to the midterm elections. Now, if you make $17,000 or less, you're going to lose $1,000 a year. If you make between $17,000 and $51,000 a year, you'll be losing $700 at least. But if you make $4.3 million a year, you will gain $389,000 a year. So it's important to realize that the tax cuts for the wealthy, the extremely wealthy, will be permanent. But the tax cuts for the lower and middle income people, those expire in 2027, and that is on purpose. They want to be able to use that to get past the midterm elections, and they think that their followers are just too stupid to actually read the fine print.
Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill passed the House last night with an itsy-bitsy margin. That is going to prevent a 22% tax hike when his 2017 tax cuts would have expired, so they will be permanent now, thank God. No tax on overtime, no tax on tips, no tax on auto loans, expanding the child credit to 40 million Americans, securing our borders, opening up drilling. This is going to put an average of $13,000 in the pockets of every single American. And for the senators, now that it has to pass the Senate, for the senators like Ron Johnson, please don't pull your shenanigans and talk about how you're concerned about it increasing our national debt when we just saved $1.6 billion from the federal budget. And you voted to increase the debt ceiling like, what, 6, 7, 8 times recently? So, yeah, do your job and do what the Americans voted for, and let's pass this heat. Let's get it done.
I told y'all, Trump said no taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips. And guess what? It just passed the Senate 100-0. Everybody voted for it, no matter what political party you are. It's too good of a deal to turn down, so now anybody that makes less than $160,000 a year will not pay taxes on their tips, and hourly workers will not pay taxes on overtime. Passed the Senate 100-0. That broke history. When it goes to the House, it's gonna fly through. Now do y'all believe Trump? Because not only has he done everything he said he was going to do, he's done it in less than 6 months. He ain't even been in office 6 months. And you people are still saying he's a liar. He doesn't tell. He said he was going to do that. And y'all thought it was all bullshit. You know why? Because y'all are just stupid people. Just stupid. Y'all don't want to give the man a chance because he calls people names, but yet he's made everything better on top of the golden dome that's going to go over the United States that repels missiles. So no nuclear warfare can get to us. Y'all are just stupid. Stupid fucking people.
One thing that almost nobody is talking about regarding the recently passed House budget bill is the fact that the big, beautiful budget bill actually includes anticipated revenue from the tariffs, meaning that they have created a budget that is based off of hypothetical tariffs that currently the revenue does not exist, nor is it confirmed, or nor is it something that is definitely going to happen. And they anticipate that they're going to collect $400 billion in revenue from tariffs. And as a reminder, the U.S. consumer pays for this. And as a second reminder, when Carolyn Leavitt said during the White House press briefing that this actually saves $1.6 trillion, she is directly pulling in a quarter of that coming from tariff revenue. In 2024, the Treasury Department collected $84 billion in tariff revenue. In 2025, in the big, beautiful budget bill, they are meant to collect $400 billion. And again, who is paying for that? We are. And this is exactly where that graphic that was being shared a lot in September and October that Republicans kept saying this is not a real graphic because it incorporates tariffs that are hypothetical. And this graphic basically stated that the lower and middle class would end up paying more per year and lose household income because of the tariffs. They were all saying you can't pay attention to this because it's hypothetical. Well, it's very real now. The $400 billion also assumes that we are not headed towards a recession, which we very much are. It also assumes that interest rates will eventually fall to 2009, 2010 levels, which we don't know if they will. It also did not include a downgrading of the U.S. credit score from Moody. It also does not include the fact that bond yields have risen and the interest payments that we are paying on our debt are actually going up. And once again, the largest portion of the federal budget is the interest payments we pay on our debt. Fully understand that this is going to go over the head of 78 million voters, but that's not the point. The point is to educate you and help you understand why this is such a scam, and it is the biggest lie that is currently being perpetuated right now regarding the budget. It still does have to pass through the Senate, but it very likely will with only very minor changes to it.
President Trump's big, beautiful bill imposes a work requirement on the 1/4 of Americans who use Medicaid. So, isn't that a good thing? People should contribute to society, and there are exceptions for caregivers and people with disabilities. Of course, people should contribute, and those exceptions are a plus. But this kind of policy has been used and studied before, and it doesn't work in the way that they're selling it. In states where this has been tried before, it wasn't the work requirement that was the problem, it was the reporting requirements. Studies since 1996 have shown that 25 to 35% of eligible people for Medicaid end up getting kicked off because of administrative errors in submitting paperwork because they have to report once a month. And if they don't follow the technical rules exactly, they're gone. And that includes their kids, too, that are on Medicaid. My problem with it is that people, especially children, shouldn't have to prove to the government that they're worthy of being well. And without that Medicaid reimbursement, rural hospitals are likely to go under trying to give care to uninsured people. Everyone is worthy of being well, and you need to be well to work.
We didn't know exactly how it was going to end, but we knew something like this was coming. And now that it's here, I have only one piece of advice for you. Do not let anyone rob you of the savory deliciousness of the moment and the memory you first saw Elon Musk call Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill a massive, outrageous, pork-filled, disgusting abomination. I mean, there's breaking up with someone in a way that leaves them some dignity, and then there's buying their childhood home, bulldozing it to the ground, and then in the spot where their bedroom once sat, erecting a 200-foot flashing billboard with 4,000-point font that reads A daft prick once lived here, and that daft prick is now emotionally defeated and single. Now, I do have to caution you, this does not mean that Elon Musk found a soul, because he hates this disgusting abomination talking about the bill, not the president, for all of the wrong reasons. He doesn't hate it because it would potentially leave 8 million Americans without health insurance, because it would protect Trump appointees from contempt charges when they ignore judges, because it would ban states from regulating AI for 10 years. And he doesn't hate it because it would prevent federal funds from going to Planned Parenthood to provide critical healthcare services to Americans. No, he hates it because it doesn't cut enough. He wants social misery and economic misery. Of course, we should obviously welcome the animosity toward Trump, but no, we should not mistake it for Elon Musk finding his way to the light. He is still just as bad as ever, maybe worse, but this time it's different bad. And sometimes different bad is kind of good.